Welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. I finally got done with that 70 Chevelle, and now it's time to move on to my next project, which is a race truck S10. This one needs some help in stopping, it needs some help in stance, it needs some help with alignment, it needs some help with a bump steer kit, and he's got a pile of other parts in there that I haven't even looked at yet, but we'll get to those here in a minute. Got a little blue S10 for your viewing pleasure. We're going to do a few things to it to help this guy move this thing closer to being race ready. This young gentleman has built this truck to this point all by himself. He built the engine by hand. It's all his. He owns every single piece of blood, sweat, and tears on this truck, and he trusts me enough to let me have my turn at it. I'm trying to get my day staged for tomorrow, so let me get this thing in the shop, and I will hit the ground running on this one and get moving with it. Stick around, click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Alright, well, first order of business on this little S10 is going to be front ride height and having actual wheel travel, because this isn't it. So I'm going to guess the springs are installed wrong. We're going to position them correctly and then see where the truck sits, and then we'll make a decision on whether we're going to cut a coil or if we're going to just get different springs. Different springs would be my recommendation, maybe a V6 spring. This looks to have a V8 spring in it, but allegedly it has the original springs in it, so I don't know, maybe they're just installed wrong. We'll let's get the thing in the air and figure that out and move forward. So I have to do some brake work. We're going to do some plumbing, bleed the brakes. Don't think that is on the hinges. I think that's just on. We'll find a place to put that guy. What's under here? Hey, look! It's an LS with a carburetor on it. That's gonna be fun. I like the color. I actually like the patina on it too. Hey, look at that. Lucky for you guys, I'm gonna be able to show you what I do to brakes on these old things. Oh, not too bad. We can make them better. Turbo 350 LS with a carburetor on it.
Yeah. That way you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on wiring and ECU and tuning and fixing with a screwdriver.
Got the old chain trick for engine limiter. Getting ready to do that.
It's missing a very important component here on the front suspension.
What's that? Yeah, he brought it to me without the shocks in it. Hey, what's going on?
Hi!
Oh. It's set so high because the end of the coil is over here instead of over here. That's part of the problem. That's not going to be the whole problem. This one actually is close. It's probably not in the upper pocket. My lights are on my A right now. There's one.
So you finally killed one.
Yeah, it took over a year.
And a lot of abuse.
It took over a year. It took a dunk in a... That's the one that went in the coolant vat for the Toyota. Yeah. It bounced off the floor I don't know how many times. Those are not original coils, and they are not in the pockets up top. Not a bad little truck. Those cow tracks. That needs set up. That one's extended and this one's not. So they are not, they'll need to be squared up. It's alright, we can fix that. So first order of business, coil springs. I'm going to get all my boxes open and figure out what all I got for this thing. Alright, well, we're going to pull coil springs out of this because I think this thing has big block springs in it. We picked up some Moog V6 light duty coils. We're going to stick them in here and see how it works out for us. We kind of wagged the dog as far as what kind of a weight we need, but we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. They're not too hard to change out, so it's not that big of a deal. These are the Moog 0719-5660 coil spring set, and we're doing these because this is like under $100 compared to the trick springs, which are $200. So we're trying to save some pennies. Hopefully it'll work out. Let's get our handy dandy spring compressor out. Once again, my OTC 7045B spring compressor is going to come in handy. Been using this a lot lately. You can see right here where the coil's been hitting the frame, and that's because it's not in the upper pocket. It's also not in the lower pocket. It's like over here somewhere. So it makes it do weird things with the coils when they're not in the pockets correctly. Got to get them aligned properly. Get this thing lined up, and like I can't even get my tool up in there correctly because it's hitting the frame because it's so far out of whack. There we go. Maybe I got past it with that. Yeah, there we go. Now we're all the way up. I need to turn my puck around because it's not quite lined up. It's 180 out. Bruce is pulling in a BMW. Caleb's working on an Avalanche. We had some oil leaks on an Avalanche we needed to address. Jeff's pulling the engine out of a 65, 66 Mustang, something like that. We are busy today, trying to get it all done. Aha. There we go, I like that. Oh, somebody's heated this one. We don't want those springs anymore. Heating a coil is not the right idea. It works, but it doesn't work well. It makes really weird bump steer problems too. Yeah, I guess I could just pop the lower ball joint off. Let's do that. Give me a minute. Weight savings going on there.
So, you change.
Look at them blind. S10, considerably different thickness.
Hey, there he is.
S10 to 740. What's going on? How are you?
Dude, how are you?
Doing all right, man.
Look at you underneath the truck. That's so unusual.
Yeah, I know. Tape that guy in there. A couple pieces of electric tape, hold my insulator, and feed it into the control arm. Knock out of the way. Probably should have grabbed a stand. But I'm not that smart. cramp. Two dots are there. Line it up right at the forward dot. This is going to be a completely different critter. I like it. That's a good spot. What'd you do? Just walk it off, big guy. What'd you slam it in?
Yeah. I was putting the transfer case back up in the trans jack. I was trying to like rotate it. It wasn't rotating, and I just put a little bit more pressure, and it just gave right into the frame.
Yeah.
Oh god damn it!
Oh, you're leaking. You need some electrical tape. Did you get your nail or the whole finger? I don't mean to laugh. I just laugh because I've done the same thing. I don't know how many times.
Oh no, well, it doesn't bother me.
We're all masochists. You have to be a masochist to do this for a career. So got it right behind the nail bed. That's the worst place to get your finger. Oh, you got your thumb too.
That was like 3 or 4 days ago.
You got your thumb 3 days ago. We're gonna have to put you in like bubble wrap.
Yeah, just give me the thick insulated gloves.
Got to use your tool again.
Got to use my tool again. So the coils are the same height.
Okay.
Except that one's equal windings, the top and the bottom are symmetric.
Okay.
Where this one has a top and a bottom.
Gotcha.
So I get to change that one because I put it in upside down because I didn't catch that the first time I did it. Because that's how I roll.
Well, anything worth doing once.
So, but this one's in right. So we're going to button this side up and then we'll do that one again because it takes, you know, with this tool it doesn't take long. So it's not a big deal. Right, so when you go here, there's a coil there.
Yeah.
When you go here, there's no coil there.
See that?
So this side would actually sit higher because it would have a higher spring rate because of the incorrectly installed spring, which is a complete technician installed problem. So we'll do that again because I'm dumb. It's okay. This winding is tighter, so that one should be on top. They're pretty close, but I'm going to be picky because that's how I roll. Well, I don't know honestly if that's that big of a difference from one side to the other, but I switched it around because I like this one seems to be more flat. I just think it'll work better. So that's the way we're going to do it. I'm surprised those are still that high. So his headers aren't going to allow this engine to go down, or this front end to go down any further. He has a header to upper control arm clearance issue. I have to bleep out my frustration on that one. So I'm going to have to pull this front tube as well because it's hitting right here. I'm going to zip that guy off, and then I think this arm will be free. So we only have one tube of the 4 that works with this suspension system on this setup. So he's going to have to choose a different set of headers. I don't know what that is right now, but I'm sure there's something out there to fit an LS and a S10 that will work. The nice thing is now our steering shaft isn't hitting the header tubes, so that's a plus. Let me zip this last guy out. See if I can snake this guy out of here without too much frustration. Yeah, not too bad. Looks like our center two on this side are giving us the same grief. So we'll pull those guys off. Don't know if that front tube's gonna hit or not. I'm thinking it might actually be hitting the front tube. You can actually see a witness mark across it. This is the lightest engine ever built. What springs did you get me, Austin? These things are stiff. At least now my control arms are free, they're not hitting things. A 2-inch drop spindle would be perfect on this. And you can do those with a raised upper ball joint, which works really nice on these. The knuckle itself has the corrected geometry in it. At least there's some spring to it now. There wasn't before. Well, our QA1 single adjustable front shocks that this customer supplied are going to work just fine. They do not limit our down travel at all, which is good. We want all the down travel we can get in this situation. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these coils back out. I'm going to cut a full coil off of them. And we're going to see if we can get the ride height we're looking for through cutting the coils. We are trying to be budget friendly on this build, so a 2-inch drop spindle would be perfect for this setup. And it would give even more camber gain along with the taller ball joint. Don't really need the taller ball joint with a taller spindle, but I'd be interested to see what it does just because I'm curious like that. But he already has the tall ball joint, so that gives us extra camber gain that we want. And it gives us the extra droop that we want. He's hacked out his centers of his upper control arms Billy style. So that gives us like an extra ½ inch or extra inch of down travel as well with the bump stops removed. I did have to remove the headers, most of the headers. Honestly, I'm going to talk to him about just taking some shorty headers because you can get them dirt cheap off of anywhere on the internet and just flip them and run them right out the fender. I mean, it's a carbureted LS, so there's really no reason to run a bunch of exhaust all the way down under the car. It gets the heat out from under the car, and it gets the noise out from under the car. So it's not echoing in your ears while you're driving it up and down the track. Let me pull these coils out, cut off one coil, and we'll check our ride height again. Scared you, didn't I? So I'm going to cut one coil out of this guy. Okay, so I'm going to cut it right there. And I don't think I want to go more than one coil because I want at full droop to have some spring pressure. But I want my spring pressure to be, I want the nose of the car as low as I can get it without it being on the stops. So I'm going to start with one coil. It's kind of aggressive. Normally you do like a half or a quarter coil. But I need like 2 or 3 inches of drop. So we're going to do a full coil. Let's see where it ends up. Don't laugh at my saw. I've been using this saw for more than 10 years. Maybe 20. I don't use it every day, but still. This is a really good way to cut your fingers off. Do this at your own risk. My insulator stayed up in there. So now that my coil's cut, we can actually install this in the car without the compressor, because it's short enough that it fits right in there. Well, for the most part. Somebody used the pickle fork on that to separate it. Still warm. That'll do. He has a power steering box on here, but no power steering. He probably needs to get a non-power steering box. Get a manual box. They're only $100 and some odd, I think, now. Or do an electric power steering kit. The Ford, what is it? The new Ford stuff has an electronic power steering pump, so you could run a power steering system off of an electronic power steering pump, and then you have power steering. I don't think you really need power steering on a straight line drag car, but it's one way around the added drag of a power steering pump. Mr. Compressor. Alright, let's see where that puts us on our vertical. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It could go lower, but we're going to have to do that maybe with a taller lower ball joint. And his lower ball joints leave a little bit to be desired anyway. The problem with going with taller lower ball joints is it exacerbates the bump steer issues that these have. But we can overcome that. I'm going to loosen up our control arm bushings and reset our tension on our bushings, because that might help, because now that we're at a completely different angle of where these were designed to be at, they're probably binding a little bit. Maybe. Maybe not. Looks like Billy was in here working on these control arms. We could still go up a little bit. So we could take this a little bit lower, but I'm questioning how much up travel we have in the shock now. So I'm happy with my stance. I've got a good amount of range for lift. I'm going to install the front shocks. Probably be done taking the springs out of this for now. We have to make a decision for headers, because to make the brake lines I need to plumb them around where the headers are going to go. So we have to decide what he wants to do for headers. The headers he had selected look like maybe they're a G-body header, but they won't work for the stance we're going for the traction on the drag line. So we'll see what he wants to do for headers. So I'm going to put these QA1 shocks in here. I don't think they're going to be correct. I think they're going to limit our down travel. They fit fine with the vehicle in the air with the control arms all the way down. It didn't have any hardware, but I've started stocking little things like the hardware for different things that cause me headaches from time to time. These have a pretty hefty crossbar, but I think these will work just fine. These are for GMA body, shock mount bolts, and J-clips. I have no idea where I got those from. J-clip. Oh, come on. Got it. Nice. Ooh, kick the camera. Kick the camera. Don't kick the camera. Alright, so I'm going to leave my upper nuts. I'm not going to crank them down super tight because it gives a little extra cushion. But they'll be snug. Ooh, that light's bright. Lowest rack ever produced. Well, I'm at my 29 again, so we must be right at the top of the shock. The shock is probably really, really close to bottoming, but I'll take it. Oh, that's actually perfect. I like it. I thought I was gonna not have enough up travel. Awesome, it's a step in the right direction. This car can actually be driven now, although first we have to fix the brakes. And some other things. Well, Randy's S10 is still hanging out here. It is sitting in purgatory while I wait for the new up and forward headers to show up. They should be here on Monday. So that's where we're going to end this little session. We've got the ride height right where we want it. Down the line, as the budget allows, 2-inch drop spindles will get the nose in an even better spot. But for now, it's set up just fine to be used as is. The up and forward headers are basically a turbo header, which allows for future upgrades. I'm just going to do a down and out the front exhaust. He can run it like that until he decides to, or the budget allows for future upgrades. But getting the new headers on this will allow me to plumb my brake system, bleed my brake system, and then we can pull on the alignment rack for the alignment check. So, with that, you guys have a great night. We'll see you on the next one. Stay safe out there.